Hello everybody, welcome here on a Diershof. Today I want to show you what I planned for this season. It's actually an experiment. I have divided my vegetable and berry garden into three sections where I want to try three different ways of gardening. Here it's back to Eden gardening, the berry patch, and then behind it a few rows of vegetables. So there are already some artichokes in, there will be some beans and tomatoes, and behind that you see you see the naked soil. There I do what I would call is the traditional way of gardening here in Switzerland and many places. So to keep the plantation weed free by rototilling between the rows, maybe every 2 weeks or something like that. So that means that all the crops needs to be planted in rows. And my rows have a spacing of 90 centimeters. This year, unfortunately, we have incredible amount of rodents here. I try to catch with those traps, but the whole ground here is perforated. This is my first back to Eden bed. Yeah, there's some crops coming out here. This, no idea what's called in English. Here in this bed it's all perennial vegetables. Here is kind of we call it a eternal kale. So kale that grows in a bush, comes every year again. And next to it, let's see if we can see it here. Good King Henry coming here, rising to seed even before it grows. This little bed has worked quite well. There are a few weeds here at the border, but they are easy to pull out. Works much better, this first experimental bed, than all the rest of the garden in terms of weed control. And that was my encouragement to do a larger patch. This is another small bed where every year, or let's say the last years, I've grown cucumbers. This year I will try something else. Here you see what this is a bed full of perennial herbs, spices, totally weeded now. Huge amount of work to get rid of the grass in between it. So yeah, I will find out if this system is here the better choice. It's mid of June now. I report here from my experiment comparing back to Eden gardening or deep mulching. as Paul Gauci recommends here, with wooden chips. What should I say? Generally plants like this zucchini or over there, the beans, they grow much less than the stuff in the naked soil over there. We'll show you in a moment. And also those with plastic mulching, it's growing much better. The wheat here is quite good under control. If there would not be this species here, this species of wheat manages it to creep under the board for meters, finds a tiny spot to come up, and it's over and over popping up in this whole wood chip spot. I have all to pull them out by hand. I have to say it's still much better than it was before, because you will see over there in my naked garden soil patch, the wheat is dense as in a meadow. It's terrific. The soil here is saturated, really saturated with wheat seeds. Here at least they are all defeated except this one pest. Look at this. The third way how to fight weeds is this patch here and the tunnel, where I covered between the rows with this black a kind of geotextile or what it is, and in the gaps in between I plant the crops, like here the salads. No idea if this works. I see that the weeds are growing here under the plastic. They will be destroyed. No mercy. The same here in the tunnel. Here I try also something special. With that kind of a template, I burn out round patches of the plastic textile to put some plants, for example cucumbers here, directly into the holes, so that should give even a better weed protection. Yeah, let's see what works best. Of course the weeds come here in between. Here I have to fight them manually. Yeah, let's see. Finally, this here is the part with the plastic mulching. There is some weed growing here in between, but the rest clean. The vegetables are growing well. Huge heads of salad. Here potatoes. This here, do you see this? Must be a world record salad head. Need to thin them out a bit. They have enough space to grow. So here in the tunnel, also plastic mulching. To be honest, I do not know what my conclusion is. I lose here a bit the soil. Soil is very loamy. I mean, the tomatoes are growing well. They are a little bit less green as the ones outside. The foliage looks a little bit drier, if I can say so. Wheat is pretty much under control. I have over there cucumbers. Here. They grow not bad, but the foliage is much smaller than the ones I have in another little greenhouse. I'm not sure if this is the loamy soil here. I gave them quite a bit of nutrients. Okay, if I should make now a conclusion, mid-June, back to Eden gardening, traditional naked soil, rototilling, plastic mulching, I'm not sure what I would say. Plastic works well, much less weed, but looks ugly. And I'm not so sure about the vigorous growth. Plants seem a little bit weaker and smaller than in the naked soil. Back to Eden gardening. If there would not be this one bad weed, the weed problem would be solved, but plants are not growing as well as in the naked soil. I have to say I've given everywhere the same amount of fertilizer, mixed fertilizer. What else? Back to Eden, I have the feeling I have much more slugs and snails than here. Okay, no real conclusion right now. Let's wait till the end of the season. This is tree spinach. Here we have kohlrabi, huge but split because of humidity changes. And here the wheat. The wheat is everywhere. It's strong like hell. Thistles and grasses and rye types. I have to pull it all out by hand because here between the rows I can easily use the rotor cultivator, but here in the rows I need all to do this by hand. Things here are growing extremely well. Cabbage, no parasites. Here the beetroots, wonderful. But it's the same story. Look how dense the wheat is coming here. And it's not the first time I do this. So to clean it all, I would need all pull it out by hand. I could use some tools, zapping, but the soil can be very hard and the clumps around the roots of the weed, so it's not really a good solution. So what I would need to do is hand weeding. It's a pain in the neck. Here in between, yes, as I said, I can use the roto cultivator. It works quite well. But in the rows, impossible. The grass grows so dense as it would be a lawn. Looking back, all of those methods had substantial drawbacks. The back to Eden gardening, most weeds were suppressed, but there were 2 or 3 weeds totally taking over. They didn't care about the cardboard barrier, they went around it. They have the possibility to grow 10-meter long, white, thick rhizomes. They even go under an asphalt road and come up on the other side. So, and this weed totally took over. And a few others too. The growth of the vegetable was not very good. I have the suspicion that you have to throw there a lot of nitrogen because the composting of the wood chips themselves consumes a lot of nitrogen, and that's missing for the plants. So some plants grew quite nice, others didn't. Very mixed results, but in no way results as Paul Gauci has shown it in his garden there on the west coast of the US. So maybe he uses huge amount of chicken manure, but here just wood chips and applying superficial nitrogen fertilizer. The results were not so good. The black plastic I didn't like a lot because the plastic itself, yes, disables the weed growth locally, but there are other types of weeds which take over, which grow in from the sides and so strong that after a longer time you don't see the plastic anymore, it's just green. So there are weeds here, they make side branches 1 meter long from every side, and they cover the plastic, and so not a big help at all. The mechanical weeding works probably best, I have to say. So it's against the no-till philosophy, and mechanical weeding is what I would apply here on this plot. Soon we will have a plow coming and plowing all the grass under, and then next year when we have here long rows of vegetables, I will do mechanical weeding with a grubber and a tractor, so scraping off the top layer with the weeds, and this is a method which is also recommended by FIBEL, the world's largest institute of organic agriculture. So it's an experiment. I have limited time resources, and hopefully that way I will be able to get more out of the land here for our self-sustaining with vegetables. A final word, basically the conclusion. What I will apply on the new stretch far away from the garden so far is a weed control much stricter right from the beginning. That means I will buy a special tool. It's called in German a Drahthacke. And of course it needs time, but it means that directly in the first phase of the cultivation of the earth, you have to go through with this tool and just move around the surface of the earth and root out all the very small sprouts of the weeds. If you do that, and you never allow the weed to grow bigger than a certain amount before it goes to seed. Let's see if I manage to do that. It's a matter of time, nothing else. I do not have time like many others do, whole day round. I have to work when I come home, often it's raining, and then forget it. And then a week is gone and it's too late. So I will see what I can do. Early weeding. Then I will try to mulch more, natural mulching. Not with wood chips, but maybe with grass cuttings and other materials I have in the garden. Then the mechanical weeding, as I said. Remember, these are my conclusions. Somewhere else it might work totally different. If you appreciate it, please a thumbs up and bye bye. See you next time.